camera here. There we go. That's a little better. We got some camera angle going on here. It's kind of weird. Let's see here. There we go. Now we're all fixed. We are live. I'm back home from my trip to Westech, which is awesome. Coming down a little bit, which the trip was awesome. Got to run the L78 finally, 396, made some power, and then also the 5.3 with all kinds of different things. We got to run the high ram, the low ram. It's the first time I've run a low ram actually. So high ram, a low ram, the BTR Trinity intake manifold, ran the blower, the M90 on the 5.3, and it made lots of power, as we talked about before, but it made over 600 horsepower, so it did good. Which is, I think that's a new world record, right? Don't I have the world record for the most powerful M90 from a 3800, red in color, slightly modified? You could add all these things that you want to all these world records. But it did really well. Also did the bubbler test for my buddy here, Boost Novice. Is that who was asking about the bubbler test? So we did that test, and I have all the data logs on all that stuff. So it's like an avalanche of data and information. So it's all good. So I got lots of stories I'm working on the first one tonight, so I can hopefully get that edited and out tomorrow morning. But I wanted to jump on with you guys and see how you guys are doing. The thumbnail that's up, and I can go ahead and show you the thumbnail. Go ahead and show you the thumbnail that I have up so you can see what I'm talking about. So I want to show you what modifications we made to the thumbnail. I mean, not to the. So this was one of the blowers. We're doing two of them. This was the red one. They're both Gen 5s, and you can see I've cut the throttle body flange off right in front of this. This is a mounting bolt for the blower down to the lower adapter plate. And then the guys from Mahowitz were nice enough to go in and ball mill this opening out to as close as we could get to 3.5 inches, because then we stuck a 3.5 inch tube over that and welded it. Jason at JT Fab did that. And then they went in with the ball mill and took out some here. And then what I did is you can't see it on here because we haven't done it yet, but went in and radiused all this in so that we wouldn't have, sharp edges and stuff there. So there's actually a lot more power or a lot more flow that could be had from doing even more work on there. I purposely didn't do a whole bunch there because I want the guys from Jokers to be able to go in and do what they want. And I don't know on their program, because they've got some sort of CNC thing, I'm sure, set up for that. I don't know what they do there. So I didn't want to throw anything off for what they wanted to do. And then if they do something, or once they look at us, they can go, hey, we can really make this a lot better. I'm like, dude, you guys can run with whatever you think is going to work, because we're going for the record here. We're trying to make lots of power. So we want to talk about that. There's that all worked out good. And I'm going to show you another photo of this one. This was interesting. You guys can, and we'll do a little quiz. In fact, this will be our poll. Let's see if we have this, if we can bring this up. This will be our poll for tonight. So we can figure out why this particular coupler that I have, why it didn't work out. And you guys can let me know. It's a 3.5 to, it's a 4 to 3.5 reducer, basically. And I want you guys to tell me why you think it didn't work. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so here is the coupler that I made. So that's a 3.5 to 4 because this standoff that we welded on there, Jason welded on there. This is the other blower, not the red one. We did two housings like this. So this is a 3.5, and this is a 4 because the adapter plate that I made, actually you can mount a 102 millimeter throttle body on there. We only have a 92 on there right now, but this goes from 3.5 to 4 inch. But somebody tell me in the comments why that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Why did my 3.5 to 4 work on there with the 92 millimeter throttle body? So let me know in the comments. We'll get back over there and see what all you guys think. So this will be our poll. Start a poll. Work. Okay. So the poll for tonight. Well, it's not a poll. This is more of a question. Why didn't the 3.5 to 4 90-degree coupler work to connect the 92 millimeter throttle body to the Eaton M90? Let you guys just answer it. I mean, it's going to be a poll. You can put yes or no in there if you want. It doesn't matter. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Why didn't that coupler? And you can think about it either way. It's either a reducer, depending on which direction you're flowing, or an expander. It gets either bigger or it gets smaller. And either way, it's one size on one side and one side on the other. Why didn't it work? Sean for the win. Yeah, that happens all the time. Sean knows what he's talking about. Anybody know the value of a 40,000 mile LT1 6.2 short block? No damage, ran as it should. I don't know. You have to go on. And look and see. So we have one good answer here so far. What I ended up doing is replacing that one. What I was looking for was just a straight 3.5 to 4 inch reducer, basically, or expander, so that I could run that flat throttle body mount with a standoff on it, but it was a 4 inch standoff, to the 3.5 inch standoff that I had that we welded onto the blower housing. So I needed to connect those two together. So we want to make sure that the throttle body wasn't restricting the blower. We know that the blower is still the restriction here inherently, but we wanted to make sure that that wasn't the case. So we put that bigger plate on there. And then what I did, I didn't have one. I looked through all my stuff and couldn't find it, more from lack of organization than probably not having it. But and running out of time and enthusiasm. What I did was just took a 3.5 and just stretched it, and worried about punching myself and stuff. Just stretched it over the 4 inch. And then so I made a 3.5 to 4 out of a 3.5. Luckily, it had some deformation ability in the silicone coupler. So that worked out. And we just made a straight one. And then so we could mount the throttle body. And the nice thing is that with that setup, we can orient the throttle body however we want. We could put it high, low, twist it around. We can get it so that we can line up it's mostly for me so that we can line up the throttle linkage in some doable fashion, because you can't mount a throttle bracket out in space. So it's got to be somewhere where we can attach something off to, and not having to remake a throttle linkage bracket for the Morse cable all the time. So, and all that worked out. It worked out good. Let's see. My green screen. Yep. 1 liter mafia. So Rags 409. Here, let me tell you what I'm thinking. Let me run this by you and see what you think. I hope I get a big yes from you. So if I get a Geo Metro, and for a couple $1,000s or whatever, and that way I can run the AMR 500 on it. I could also swap the Sprint turbo motor into that, because if we can run the Sprint turbo motor with a standalone management system, an Arduino or a Megasquirt or something, and maybe even Holly, I don't know, if we could run that with a standalone management system, then I can, because all we need to do is control fuel. We don't even have to control the timing. The timing has a vacuum advanced boost retard setup on it anyway. So we can run that just as kind of as a carbureted distributor. That's not a big deal. So if we can do that on the 3-cylinder, then I could do an engine swap into a Metro, a Sprint turbo engine swap, which would kind of be cool. Thumbnail looks like the M90 I cut last weekend. Did you do the zoomies with the nitrous? I haven't done zoomies on anything yet. What do you think to M12? What to do on a 408? An M112 would be obviously better than an M90, especially on a 408. It'd make more power. I don't think a 112 is probably big enough to feed a 408. If you're trying to max it out, you're gonna run out of blower before you run out of motor. Richard, I just bought a 2007 CTSV. Nice. What power mount should I do? Most guys end up turning the boost up on those is the first thing that they do with pulleys and stuff. And then do stuff on the inlet side too, and the throttle body and the air intake and stuff. But then a camshaft is a really good upgrade on those. Sounds like a Partey. How much nitrous can you run on a 5.3 with a cam and ported 832 heads? What is it? Is it 823 or not 832? I never heard of an 832 head. And an 823 head is not going to fit on a 5.3. How much power can a stock LM4 take? Is it good to cam to save weight, or can it be boosted? Yes, it can be boosted. And it will make a lot of power. It depends on how much you want. Help, I bought a Summit Pro lost rotating assembly that wasn't balanced. Is it going to be an issue for this engine? Yes, it needs to be balanced. I'm surprised that a Summit Pro LS thing isn't balanced. Summit has it listed as not balanced. Did notice and installed it. Yeah, you'd have to ask them how far out of balance it is. If it's a little bit, you probably can run it. If it's not, as soon as you start it up, you'll know it's going to be bad. Let's see, because it's smaller at the blower end, silicone boot leaked on the small end. Let's see. Can't find much to compare. Prices on eBay. eBay seem high, 3,000 for a core. It was creating a funnel-like flow and collapsing. Maybe to make 800 plus on boost, get a decent amount of money invested already. Yeah, you need to balance it. I'm dealing with 2-3 black bears. Uh-oh. I'd rather do a Suzuki Swift GT engine. No, I don't want to do that. I have the Sprint turbo engine, and I know of a 4-valve 4-cylinder is a better way to go. It makes more power, the 1.3 liter, but I have the 1 liter 8-valve motor, and that's the one that I want to make go fast. So my experience has been velocity is the key to L67. Did you ever put a Holley 850 double pumper on a 283 cubic inch to make better? No, of course not. I don't know what that's in response to. I put a 1 liter Metro on the chassis dyno at work. Nice. Which one was it? Was it the XFI, or was it like a base one? Richard put an M90 on the RB. Probably not on the RB. Maybe a K, though. Should build a 632 big block Ford with C heads. Ohio's in the house. At what point threshold as far as cam power upgrades would you consider upgrading the push rods and doing a trunnion upgrade? I'm sure that's it. I would look at it in terms of spring pressure and not so much camshaft. I've run all the stuff that I've run with no trunnion upgrade, but most of the things that I run have a lot of miles on them, and it's probably a good idea just to upgrade if not, just get good rockers. I mean, you can't expect them to last forever. So something that has 300,000 miles plus, like mine just turned over 330, I think, on the way home. So, it's probably a good idea to upgrade them. Me and my buddy just swapped a K20 and an RSX. Old one gave up. Oh, do M90s have an internal blow-off valve? They have a bypass valve, yeah, but not a blow-off valve. It doesn't vent to atmosphere. It just vents. It just vents back in between the throttle body and the blower. So the thought is too large of a throttle body size. No, you can't make too large of a throttle body on the positive displacement blower. If you want to do PTG or SRT 4 motors, I'll send you a V1 AEM standalone to use. Oh, thanks, Burns. That would be cool. Actually, I'd like to do I would think about doing a 2.4. I see a lot of PT Cruisers in the wrecking yards by us. I always go check them out because it says turbo and it has intercoolers and stuff. You're going to post a new video of the L78. That's going up in the next couple of days. Cutting my M90 further back on the top, even with the top of the case, and welding a 4-inch 90 with a 102 millimeter flange. Oh, that's good. That'll help get more flow in. Richard, you're going to try testing an Eaton 112 off of a Jag or Ford Lightning? No, not on any of these things. The problem is that I know I've run a 112 off of an 03 Cobra a lot, and so we know what they do. The question isn't can you go with a bigger blower and will it make more power? It definitely will, but those would be impossible to find. You'll never find a lightning blower in a wrecking yard. And Jags you might find, but if you do, it'd be once every, I don't know, few years. Whereas these M90s, I find 6 or 8 of them every time I go to the wrecking yard. M90 on a slant 6 that's a really good idea. Employee at my local Harbor Freight is a 90 Festiva. I like those. I've been trying to buy for years. Yeah, those are cool. I really like those. Meaning want to test the M90 or any other test? Okay. Officially lost faith in Texas Speed. Looking at Godzilla cams, and Texas Speed requires a VCT lockout for all their options, while Comp Cam even has their stage 3 listed as okay if limited. It's plug and play, just use the factory harness. Oh, cool. Dear. I love the old one. You want to do a Cosworth swap and a Festiva? That's cool. Got an M12 on a 5.3. The Tom DeMuse has the adapter plate to do the 122s on the and I think they had the 112 also. Also, rest in peace. 2002 Yukon Denali LQ4 has a glitter in the pan. At 300,000 miles, going to rebuild it, put it in a Z28. Definitely on the swap. 409. Yep. Found a supercharged Jag and a Range Rover pretty recently. I wish I would have pulled the motor. I did see one. I saw a Range Rover that had the twin intercooled thing. I mean, it was probably last year now. I think it's in one of my videos. Gonna mod mine to run with a 122 rotor pack. Do you have to put a spacer on it or something? I always want to swap the 1.3 liter and a turbo. That is a good motor. I mean, I remember we used to race when I was running World Challenge back in the day. In the Mustangs, we were in the B class, and then the C class had smaller cars, Hondas and things. And then there was a guy that had a Swift with a 1.3. I don't know how he was spinning it. It was pretty high. It seemed pretty sporty for a 1.3. Richard, do you see the Boosted Boys put a Honda Odyssey body on a Tesla Plaid? No, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out. That's cool. Thanks. Working on a small block Mopar, 418 inches, 8.5 to 1. Port Edelbrock, 249 at 50. The B&M 172. How much power do you think it'll make? I think that combination should easily be able to max out that blower. Sure, so it only flows 90 CFM. It only has so much volume. Larger throttle body only flows for more air available. I guess I missed it. Oh, the reducer setup. Oh, so people know the reducer setup failed because it collapsed. It's not strong enough. There's vacuum behind the throttle blade, especially at idle and stuff. And when you give it a little bit of throttle, the whole thing just collapses shut. And so I had to take that off. That I should have. Sorry about that. I should have told everybody. That's what happened. The that 90-degree elbow. Because anytime you have a coupler like that with no structure inside of it, when there's somewhere between 10 and 20 inches of vacuum, depending on how you're doing the throttle, it just folds that whole thing up. It puts a big dent in it. It's pretty cool. I now wish, as I was driving home, thinking, you're dumb, Richard. You should have done the video on that. You should have been filming that, because I was doing the throttle. I was standing in the dyno cell with the motor running, and I was wicking the throttle a little bit to see what was going on, why the thing was running so bad. I was running so poorly. I don't know why I didn't think of that before I put it on there. It was just so easy because it had the 3.5 and the 4. I'm like, dude, this is perfect. This will work in every way possible except actually work. But I should have been filming it so we could see the thing collapsing, but I didn't do it. They're making 900 to 1200 horsepower 3-cylinder turbo kits for Sea-Doos and side-by-sides. That would be a rocket ship. 1200 horsepower from the 3-cylinders and the Sea-Doos? Spacer, I'm not sure how the porting will go, but that's the plan. Okay, the spacer, yeah. You plan on doing any tests with a 6.6 LS? What is that? M90 means it's 1.5 liters. Oh, I thought maybe a flat spot idle was a problem. No, it was just the whole thing was collapsing. I wouldn't know if there were any drivability problems because I don't really tune a lot for drivability. Just transition from rolling into the throttle. 2009 LC953 doing a truck Norris cam, springs and lifters. Will I need different push rod lengths? You might with that cam. You're going to have to check it when you're putting it together. And also, if the lifter cup has changed position relative to the lifter that you took out of there, that's another video that I need to do with Brian. Lifters. Going to run a 2.3 TVS or bigger when I put a blower on my stuff. That's good. .6 LT. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one, but not the 6.6 LS. I thought he meant he was talking about some sort of stroker version of an LS, but that's probably is the LT motor. And I don't know. I don't have any of those. Brian might have some of those at his place. They might run them. Rotex motors. I mean, the turbos are almost the same size as the motor, but the turbo is probably second gear 8,000, but definitely want to go for the ride. I remember talking to somebody. This is way back. This had to be early 90s. When we were talking to the guys at Extrudone who were doing a bunch of stuff with the jet ski impellers, and we're like, I think we could get one of these things to go 100. Like, you'll never get one of those things to go 100. I'm like, no, they will do that. They definitely will. And obviously they did. So how's our poll? I don't know what yes means, and I don't know what no means. Drag Van, what's up? Doesn't the L8T suffer from the same issue with lack of fuel flow as the others? So air inlet restriction or turbulence, bell-shaped or other entry on the entry that I was showing, it was just a coupler was collapsing between the throttle body and the blower. Experiment with exotic performance bolts. If so, I'm not familiar with them, so I don't know anything about them. I use ARP head studs when I put them on anything. I mean, a man who'll go 100 miles an hour and deserves a purple or green hat. They really do. I mean, we were talking a big game. I haven't having been, on a sit down one, not even on a stand up one. I think I've been 76 or something on one of those on a supercharged one, and that's plenty fast. Right, so that means there was a lot of vacuum there, which means there has to be some sort of restriction on the air entering to create that much vacuum with the wide open throttle. There's no vacuum at wide open throttle. There's only vacuum when the blade's closed. That's what, and when you start to open the blade just a little bit, that's when the whole thing collapses. Or when you open it and then close it. It's not restrictive at wide open throttle. If I could get the thing to wide open throttle, it would run just fine. That elbow would have worked great at wide open throttle. It just won't work under closed throttle. The L8T has a very small cam, basically a non-AFM version of what comes in an L83. Okay. 30% oversized LT4 injectors. 30% oversized would be good. Fastest I've been on a stand-up is 50s. Yeah, I've never been that fast on a stand-up one. I think back when we were riding those back in the day, they probably were like 30 or 35 or something. Friend has a 750 Kawasaki stand-up. 100-ish horsepower. Yeah, you do get worn out. I remember going riding jet skis. I'm like, this is a lot of work. Thinking about trying hydraulic roller lifters and a camshaft on an LA360 block. I was thinking there was not a large enough bore for it. Doesn't a Dodge have a big lifter bore? I think it's just a function of the 90 bend that hinders flow. I think if I would have had a straight coupler with that much unsupported length, that it would have collapsed too. I think it's just the structure of the it's just the nature of the coupler. So yeah, we have 1,000 horsepower capability in a race gas now with a stock LT fuel system. That would be nice. It's big, just not very deep. Yeah. Can you don't the later Magnums have hydraulic roller stuff? Changing direction to a single S480 T6 on a stock 5.3 with a Truck Norris cam, 2900 stall. It's not going to be excessively laggy, but you're not doing this for a street. If you have an S480 on a 5.3, you're not doing this for street fun. You're doing something with it, right? Suddenly I'm much more interested in the L8T. LA engines can use a roller cam. The last couple of years came with them from the factory. That's what I thought. Wasn't there a few transition years from the end of the LA family over to the Magnum where they did that? LA TCAM 193, 199. Yeah, that's pretty small. Yeah, but oh, you don't want to change the block because you already have it. Yeah, I understand. I know Dulcich's run solid rollers in those, so I don't know why a hydraulic roller wouldn't fit. I would just look at the oiling band and make sure that it's okay. On one of those, when I showed you guys the photo, the thumbnail of the flange, when we cut that off, I cut one of those on one saw and then cut one over at Mahovitz's, and I could tell you that the teeth count is everything, and the angle and the bigness. Those took a much bigger bite. That thing whipped through there like nothing. The other one that I used was not nearly as fast. LAT comes with forged rods and forged cranking rods and high protected pistons, and why all the forged stuff and cheap out on pistons? Probably for noise. Can I raise compression on a 5.3 without placing stock flat top pistons? Yes, you can do it a couple of different ways. You could mill the block, which you need to see how far the pistons are out right now. You could also mill the head. You could put a thinner head gasket on it. I think it's worth the cost to change to roller. If I was going to do a roller, they'll on engines like that, a small block Chevy or small block Ford, when the discussion is go to a roller, for a long time it was just go to a solid roller. So you're either flat tap it or you're race, and race is solid roller stuff. Hydraulic roller kind of bridge the gap between those two. I like the hydraulic roller stuff, especially if you're going to be driving it a lot. I like reducing the friction. The stuff is a little bit heavier, so you got to spring up for the hydraulic roller stuff. But I do like it. I don't think you're going to gain any power if you get a good flat tappet setup. I think it's going to work just fine. Still in the shop working, but I stopped in for the show. Oh, good. Is it snowing out there, Tom? I forgot to it wasn't because it wasn't on my list of stuff to get done. And I didn't have enough days to get it done anyways, but I wanted to also try to run a carburetor on the M90. Because and I would try that without the fuel or without the intercooler probably. And I did measure, by the way, for people that might be interested in this, when I measured the stack height, the distance from the floor to the top, the high ram is about the same distance as the low ram plus the tick intercooler. So I was thinking this will work out good for me because then I could put my plate on there, and then it should be fairly close to in terms of belt length. So the belt length might be the same because it might put the pulley in the same spot. Overpressuring the pump might get you to the 1,000 horsepower flywheel on 85 on an LT4 without supplemental fuel. I don't know if you're going to get there on E85. Street driving daily into the racetrack from SoCal to Tucson, Arizona, or Las Vegas. Okay. I like the idea anymore just because I think people are leery of flat tappet stuff. I mean, there's still lots of them out there running around, from stock ones that are still running around just fine. But I like the hydraulic roller stuff. You know that's not going to go out. Getting down. Oh, it is snowing, Tom. Getting down to 5 degrees. Yeah, that's cold. Would you do a draw through carb setup on the blower? I definitely would. Yeah, that's what we're going to try. I'm just going to make an elbow that goes from the throttle body flange, and now I could just clamp something Just make a 90-degree up basically, and then mount the carburetor on top of it, and just have the carburetor, have the blower, suck through the carburetor. How the Trinity intake manifold? I'm interested in them. Don't know much about them. All of the manifolds I tested, the Trinity, the low ram, and the high ram are all short runner manifolds. The high ram is longer than the other two, so the other two are definitely high RPM manifolds, and not fast, not Dorman, not Trailblazer SS, not stock truck, not any of those. Those will all make a lot more power in the lower RPM ranges. These manifolds are designed to run at higher RPM. Yeah, a draw through on the blower would be cool if that all worked out. Raced at Irwindale. It's an 1/8 mile racing, only 6,000 pounds with the driver. So you need to make all the power. Would you lose air density compressing fuel through the blower? We would definitely get charge cooling, if that's your question. Would you recommend an AC cooled intake for a naturally aspirated 5.3? No, I wouldn't. I just recommend making a good cold air setup for it. There seems to be a lot of debate over why flat tappet cam lifters are failing. Oil, zinc, improperly ground lifter face, poor material, and on and on. Yeah. Michael, the poll question is confusing because it's not really a yes or no question. The question was just, I showed people earlier, I showed them a photo of a 90-degree coupler between a throttle body and a blower, and just asked them why it didn't work. We just asked that as a poll. So you can put whatever you want on the poll to answer it. It's going to put an M112 on an LQ4 with a Holley low ram. Now I have an LSA and an LS with LS3 heads. Now I have an M122 and low ram are sitting. Isn't the 90, 122, 60 and 60, 120? Isn't the 122 bigger than the LSA blower is? Let me know what carb flange, and I'll 3D print you an adapter to the M90. Well, we wouldn't do that because I don't have an adapter. We don't have the flange on the M90 anymore. It's just a 3.5-inch piece of tubing, a 90-degree 3.5-inch piece of tubing with a carb flange. Small block Chevy 383 with a mother thumper cam, 210 Pro Comp heads, Holley 750 Victor Junior manifold long tube. What NA power could I expect before boost on 9-to-1? I don't know about those heads. I'm thinking it's going to be mid 400s, 460 or something. Goal is a 7.0 1/8 mile. Has gone with the old engine stock cast crank and forged pistons 10.5-to-1. Went 779 with a 250 shot. High tech. What RPM are you running? What is your impeller, and what are the rest of the specs on your 427? Would a side draft carb work on the front of an M90? Yeah, it probably would. We'd need a big one though. Yeah, Travis, I thought it was 2 liters. I thought that's what they were. And then the LSA blower is 1.9, right? So an easy 600 horsepower, 7 pounds on 671. Yeah, that would be no problem. That will be not an issue at all. 12-to-1 compression, 6800 max, looking for 675. I think, but I think Brian Tooley has that like stage 4 or stage 5 stroker cam. That would definitely get you there. Probably even the cam we have in this 5.3 would do it. And 122 is 2 liter. LSA is 1.9, but I have to work around the intercooler. Yeah. We're going to have that discussion tomorrow night about the intercooler, because I did testing with the guys from Tick Performance. So shout out to those guys for sending the cooler, which is really nice. Far and away the nicest part of the motor of my junkyard blower and junkyard, the rest of the motor. Well, now it has good heads on it. It has those Trickflow 220 heads on it. So those are nice, but it does need new gaskets, and it needs a couple of things. Carbon fiber reinforced nylon is comparable to cast aluminum. Safe operating temp long term is 230 degrees. Short term is 250. There are higher temp options. I need to see if I can run the I've had it for a long time now. I had a manifold 3D printed Super Richie design, and I need to run it and see if it will work. See what it does. The LT4 blower is only 1.7. It's smaller than the LSA was. Yeah, the M90 is 1.5, and the M62 is yes, 1 liter. Those intercoolers are spendy. Yeah, they are. They're nice, but they're money. Wish I had room above the engine. I'd put a Whipple supercharger. Yeah, space is a concern, especially when you're talking about now the high ram and the intercooler and then the blower. you got a lot going on. Starting to look like Freiberger's motor. And 122. That's right, 1 liter Mafia. We ended up trapping 148 with our Fox. Nice. 85 millimeter VS turbo on a 6 liter, using 15 pounds on E85 through a turbo 400. Nice. 15 pounds on a 6 liter. If it was a cam 6 liter, that should be near 1,000 horsepower. Small block Chevy is good for how stock block is good for how much? We've made a lot more than all the numbers that you're showing there. I don't know how long you'll do that for, but do 823 heads need to be ported to run well, or keeping them stock with upgraded BTR 660 springs and trunnion upgrade good enough? Looking to get 1,000 horsepower with an F1A94. You don't need to do any porting. We've made almost 700 NA with those heads. They'll easily support well over 600. And so an F1A94 is going to easily get you to 1,000 horsepower. Stage 3 Pro LS cam. Okay. Yeah, you're going to port it. Let's see. Scrolling. Friends trying to get me to remove the dash and build a custom cover. Yeah, then it's a lot of stuff, though. I just need a little bit more room. I would take the whole inside of the car apart. Just did some searching on the LT engines. Big price difference between a 6.2 and a 5.3. That's like, 6 liters are a lot more than 5.3s also on the LS side. Pro LS pistons and rods. Those are good stuff. Small block Chevy 1010 block had held the P1SC maxed out. Yeah, we've run 4 digits on stock blocks, stock small block Chevys. You know, the 4-bolt main ones, the race blocks. And only because we never tried a 2-bolt, but maybe that would have worked. I don't think we would have pushed the cylinder head or pushed the crankshaft down out of the mains. I don't think that would have been a thing. Back to work. I came across 262 LT blocks on forums that cracked right between the bores. Engine still ran. 62 might not be for me. Got a Mark 454 30 over, contemplating prepping for a boost and doing a big bang test of my own. I mean, all of the stuff that we do is up there on the channel. An LS62 is more expensive than an LT62. So if you went to buy an LS3, it costs more than buying a LT1. I think we are going to close our poll because only the people that were here at the beginning can actually answer that, and no one's even really answering it. Let's see. So I disassembled both blowers. Both the M90 blowers are back apart now after running it on the 5.3, and now they have both been milled and or the throttle body flanges have been cut off, and then they've been machined on the mill, and then welded with standoffs on them. So now they're both ready to be shipped out to the guys at Jokers, who I don't think know that 2 of them are coming. We'll have to have that conversation. Six-liter stock bottom, refresh, Truck Norris 7 to 6 heads, dormant intake. Would be a good streetable turbo size. If you're not wanting to make 1,000 horsepower and you just want to have fun, I would put a VS Racing 7875 on it, or even go down to a GT45. It'd be really responsive if you're running, somewhere between 7 and 10 pounds, let's say. I have some 317 heads. I'll give away if anybody wants to pay the shipping. I upgraded and no longer need them. I'm still looking for iron 317 heads. I don't know what the casting number actually is, but the early iron ones in the 1919 or 1999 and 2000. Core LT62 short blocks are going for 2,500 to 3,000 and need rebuilds. Okay. Have you done anything else with single cam Honda 4-cylinders? I wrote 2 books on them, so I've done lots of testing with them. Any experience with the Y pipe trumpet loop design for equal length exhaust on a 4x4 GM truck? Apparently the new Escalade 5 is using it. I'm actually not familiar with that. The Y pipe trumpet loop. Are they trying to make the exhaust length the same when they merge together? Is that what you're doing? So that one side, so the longer side doesn't come over and merge into one, so that side's longer. Honestly, I don't think that that's going to make any difference, but maybe they found something. I still want to test a single exhaust like that. And Brian from Summit Racing just sent me some Summit mufflers also. I put a VSR 7875 on a 94 LT1. Hope I don't scatter it at 12 pounds. What is the motor making? Is the 94 LT1, it's not stock, right? Does it have a cam and stuff in it? So that's already probably making pretty good power, right? Correct, before the X pipe. I thought that this was a single exhaust. H pipe made a difference. I want to try a Y. What did an H pipe do? In the testing at Westech, there wasn't really much of a change in power from an X pipe and an H pipe and a dual. And yeah, it does make it sound cool. An X pipe definitely sounds awesome. Guess that's why factory airless were always ribbed or corrugated, add strength to the wall. Yeah, there has to be some structure there. I mean, even on a if you take this is the same kind of thing. If you take a radiator hose, and on the lower radiator hose, and this is especially the case, not so much on our electric water pump, although we have seen it there. But if you use an engine driven, crank driven mechanical pump on a motor on the dyno, which we do on occasion, and if you select one of the many radiator hoses that we have to make the different configurations that we have for the different motors, if you select one that doesn't have the coil spring in it because that's been taken out or cut or whatever, and you put that hose on there and you whack the throttle and give the the water pump some speed, it just sucks the hose close. And that's exactly what this did on the blower side. I want to test the Y pipe, the 3 to 3 inch Y pipe. Somebody suggested it and said they think it makes more torque. So I've never tried it, and I want to try it on the engine dyno. I know I ran on this last round of testing, and I think the one before that, except when we had the 802s on there, I ran mufflers on stuff. Now we have the 3 inch, what are essentially collector extensions. They're just exhaust pipes going into those MagnaFlow straight through turbo style mufflers. And that's so much nicer to take that sharpness out of it so that, when you're doing it for 6, 8, 10 hours making noise. This one had a lot of pulls on it. This one had 60 or 70 pulls on it, I think, by the time we were done. That's a lot. It's actually time to change the oil on that motor because it has a lot of E85. If I can fab an intercooler for the LS swapped Canyon and M12, I might just put the LSA on the G8 GT. eBay T4 single turbo manifold is down to $120. Nice. Uses a stock truck driver's side manifold and a U pipe to connect to the passenger manifold with the turbo mount on top and forward. That stuff works good. Just get all the exhaust to the turbo, and then good things will happen. M90 on a Ford 6-cylinder 300. That's like a perfect thing right there. I think that would be huge. I think people would love that. I think that needs to be a thing. Don't you guys think? That will be our poll for the last. We'll do that tomorrow. Let's see. 90, 300. Ford. That's another good one for the M90. That means I got to go get one of those. I really like those. I like the intake manifolds on it. I built custom stainless exhaust on my 15 Silverado, my 15 Cruise using MagnaFlow mufflers. I love them. These things have been on there. I'm sure. Let's see. It was 07. 17, 16, coming up on 20 years, I think. It's been a long time. I'm thinking that's when it was. And they keep working. And I do like debating on boosting my stock bottom end LS1 this winter with my new Edge Mustang. I'm looking for a 500 wheel horsepower, but we all know how it won't stop there. Yeah. If you're boosting your stock bottom end, it's an LS1 though. Yeah, 500 wheel horsepower, but 600 really just kind of sounds good. It's really got a nice number to it. Especially if you do, if you got an LS1 and you have a cam and you have springs and you have big enough injectors and a pump and you have an intercooler and then you add the 85, you're like, yeah, the 500 is going to be way too easy. 600 has a much better sound to it, has a much better ring to it. I think 600 needs to be the number. And it's so easy to get there. It's so easy. Aaron. Let's see. So everybody here is aware. Let's see. The Repair Act. You guys are all aware of the Repair Act? They want us all to buy battery electric vehicles. Somebody just sent me something. So make sure that you, I don't know, write your congressman or get out and vote or something. Let's see. Let's see. I like the sound of classic Flowmasters. Kind of put an M90 snout on my M122 to get the supercharger back further. I don't know if the snouts interchange on those. King, you don't have to ask a question to see if you can ask a question. Just ask a question. Any possibility of testing the $120 cast iron passenger side eBay turbo manifold? Hey, I can already tell you it will work. It will work just fine. Anything that you did that put all of the exhaust into the turbo will make boost, and then good things will happen. I want a 1320 resonator with an actual secondary pipe, and the thing cut out all the rasp and left only deep neutral tones. Nice. Can you spin an M90 with a V belt? Yeah, I think you could. You'd have to make or source the V belt pulley, but I'm sure it would be possible. I don't know how much drive it's going to be. I don't know where the V belt stops being an option there. Richard, is there a concern with spinning the M90 so fast that the case bearings for the rotors will survive? Yes, there is that. I mean, 20,000 RPM guys are doing. I haven't done anything with these bearings, the factory bearings. They might need to be replaced. I don't know. They didn't look, they still had grease in them and stuff when we took the cases apart. Maybe guys do upgraded bearings on these things that are, spinning them really fast. M90 on a 3.6 Penstar. I don't have one of those. I've never done anything with them. UK, what's going on? 3:15 in the morning. I like it. Much love over in UK. Anybody that stays up at 3:15 in the morning. Any tips on a Dodge 5.7? You can add boost to anything. With a V belt 5 or 7 PSI. Yeah, I don't know if it's boost or flow or blower RPM, or it's going to be some combination of those. It's going to be a power consumption thing, and I don't know where that is. Because you think about it, like a V belt on an alternator, the load on an alternator, or maybe a water pump. I think a water pump might be more than an alternator. The power steering didn't seem to be very much, be the way that we have it, um, just recirculating. He's not building any pressure. The water pump definitely does take it. But none of those things are going to be anywhere near what a M90 wicked up to 20,000 RPM is. Transplanting a 6-liter into an 88 Monte Carlo, stock bottom end. How can I get more compression to go with a big cam? Shave stock heads, aftermarket heads. Yeah, you can do all that. You can mill the stock heads. You can change the thickness of the head gasket. There are other aftermarket heads. Your 6-liter LQ4 has 317 heads. Those have really big chambers on them. So any other factory head that you put on there, any other cathedral port head that you put on there is going to raise the compression. If you put a set of rec port heads on there, which flow more and will make more power, but they're also going to keep the compression the same or change it just very, very little bit. Lots of aftermarket head choices there with smaller chambers to raise the compression. But here's the thing. You shouldn't be thinking cam and compression. They're going to help independently. You don't have to have compression with a big cam. You can have either one of those. You can have either one of them individually. You can run a big cam with what you have now and it will work fine. It's not going to make as much power as if you added compression, but the added compression is just going to add to anything that you have, no matter what camshaft you have, big or small. The compression is going to add to that. So figure out what you want to do, how much power you want to make, but there's lots of options there for, I would be thinking less about compression than I would be. It's pretty easy to get more compression from anything other than a 317 head because it has the biggest chamber of any of the factory heads. So anything that you do is going to be a step toward having more compression, but think also about more flow and make more power. M90 viable on a 5.3 with a bigger throttle body. Yeah, we've already made over 600 with it on a 5.3. Why is GM staying away from overhead cams on the V8? Well, they're not. They just introduced overhead cams on their V8. First turbo engine, ordering pistons. What's a good skeet to run on a turbo? Yours will be the last question. Motorsports, any secret tips you have for belt alignment on a home-built blower setup like the M90 48? Do you use a laser tool when building the intake adapter to ensure perfect alignment? My adapter plate is not perfect. It's not even close to perfect. In fact, it has this much wiggle room on it. What I did, and the same thing that I did with running the AMR blower, is I just have a big piece of aluminum. It's a aluminum L angle, and I just use it as a straight edge to kind of get it pretty close. What I found is that when the blower, can wiggle back and forth this way and that way, and it works pretty well even if it's misaligned a little bit for what I'm doing. So it'll accept a little bit of misalignment because I know that I've run it like that. But you saw on the AMR 500 video when I was spinning the little AMR 500 up, the belt wanted to walk off. And that's because that was misaligned. That's because when I first set it all up, it was aligned. And then when I took it off and changed the inlet and the outlet sizes for the Super Richie big inlet and outlet and put it back on, I didn't realign it. I just put it on there and thought, that's pretty close, and then tightened it up. On the adapter for the blower kit, the holes that I have are really big. They're way oversized for what needs to be there to mount it. That's because I wasn't precise about drilling all the holes. So I gave myself enough leeway to move it around, and then thinking that I would just use an alignment. But if you use a straight edge on it, it works pretty well. I don't use the laser alignment stuff, but you can also do that because I think Sanchez has that stuff. So waiting on a twin M90. Yeah, that will happen later on. hybrid Honda 2-liter hybrid, strap a turbo off of a 1.5 liter. So you want to use that turbo on something? Todd, what's going on? Yeah, Todd, their Dodge isn't doing the Hemis anymore, right? They're doing that 6-cylinder. But I have to go. I have to get to work on editing so I can get all this fancy data out. I even have the let's see if you guys can see this. Let's see if you guys can see the. It's pretty loud. Can you guys see it? Let's see. Are you guys going to be able to see that? That's the L78. It looks cooler when it's not all blown out like that. Stupid camera. But it's cool. But one thing you'll notice on that when you guys watch that, because I'm obviously going to include that in the video, you'll see it drawing fuel out of the squirters. I don't know, but I think it shouldn't do that. And yet it does, and it works. And then when you have the carb cam, you can see, hey, look, that's how a carburetor works. You can see distribution, you can see the fuel going, you can see it atomized, you can see all kinds of fun stuff. Series fuel dump. Yeah, it was good. It was good. But on that note, it is time to go. I've got to go edit, but I will be back tomorrow. I am back. We'll be doing lots of videos and, working through all the stuff, together. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.